Soldiers as far back as antiquity faced the challenge of carrying the burden of individual arms and armor into battle. Traveling long distances and having this burden on their body gave them risk for musculoskeletal injuries. In the modern era, the weight placed on soldiers has only increased, as soldiers have been increasingly given additional equipment, hoping to find technological advantages over their enemy. And with this additional weight comes additional risk for musculoskeletal injury. Now, there's a lot of companies out there looking for innovative solutions to reduce the weight on the soldier, and therefore hopefully reduce the risk of musculoskeletal injury. Some of these technologies include things such as robotic aids that carry the weight, lighter materials to make arms and armor, and powered exoskeletons. However, there may be a very simple, lightweight, and readily available technology already tested in the sporting industry to provide additional protection against ankle injuries for service members. Welcome to the Evolving Warfighter. My name is Dr. Franklin Annis, and on today's episode, we get to talk to a couple members of the Aryse company about their innovative technology to provide exoskeleton and artificial ligament support to ankles to prevent ankle injury and provide protection during ankle recovery. Thank you both Shelley McClintock, the Vice President of Partnerships, and Aaron Detter, the Director of Governmental Partnerships at Aryse, for taking the time with me today to talk about your functional anatomical stabilizing technology. Thank you.
Thanks, Franklin. Excited to be with you.
Thank you for the time.
I was wondering if you could just take a brief moment to kind of introduce yourself and what you do in your company.
My name's Erin. I know you introduced me already. I am the Director of Government Parks here at Aryse. We're a small business located in Lincoln, Nebraska, so I'm also the Director of Legal and Compliance. I think I have the best of both worlds. I get to focus on all the patents and trademarks and contract side of things, but then also get to connect with the incredible people associated with our first responders and military. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay.
And I am Shelley McClintock. I'm one of the owners of Aryse and the VP of Partnerships, and I primarily focus on the athlete vertical. So I work every day alongside our endorsers, our influencers, and then our high-level collegiate and professional teams, which has been very fun watching our product come to existence and now be able to come alongside and really aid in a need that they had long before we were able to bring the FAST products to market.
So I'm super excited to be here today because you have a product that really is lightweight, it's inexpensive, and it provides the opportunity to protect against a very common injury, whether that's against the initial injury or the possibility of re-injury. And then on the battlefield, that translates into the manpower. They go out and do combat patrols back home in the garrison environment for soldiers that just talking about either it's the man hours of missed work or the cost of investment to fix a soldier that has a broken or injured ankle can be quite significant. And it's especially true with repeated ankle injuries. It almost always leads to career-ending results for the military. So anything that you can do to safeguard against that can be a significant benefit for the military. So with that, could you describe your IFAST and how it can help prevent injuries and how it can help in the recovery process?
Yeah, so the IFAST is a pre and post injury device. Its primary goal is to really reduce, like you said, initial or reoccurring ankle injury. It was designed by an athletic trainer, Doak Ostergaard, who was at that time associated with the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And he'd spent quite a bit of time taping ankles and really felt like there was a better way to provide a solution to reduce the occurrence of injury. So he created the IFAST, which is designed to mimic the body. The sleeve is designed to mimic the skin. Its frame, there's an upper cuff and a lower cuff, is designed to really mimic the bones. And then this tension system located right here in the middle is really meant to mimic the ligaments. The overarching goal of the product is to really allow the joint, the ankle, to function in its normal range of motion. So when you wear it, you really shouldn't feel like you really have anything on. You really shouldn't feel like your ankle is restricted anyway, but it's when that ankle joint goes outside of that motion that the IFAST should kick in and provide that protection. So one key advantage that hopefully you within that is when you allow the ankle to function in its normal range of motion, then you allow for performance. You don't inhibit someone's ability to move and function in the way that they need to stay healthy, number one, to recover, number two, and then three, just to perform. So that's kind of a snippet on the IFAST. Shelley, would you add any? Did I forget anything?
Not really. Just the one thing I always like to touch on with everyone is just to start thinking more of how our bodies are naturally intended to move. We are dynamic systems. We are not static systems. So if we want to hold our ankle static, okay, maybe we won't sprain our ankle now because we're taping it or a hard brace that's holding it there. But that injury has to rise. And typically, especially in females, if you look at us, our knees go in, our hips go out. So where is it going to most likely rise to? Our knees. So take a volleyball player, for example. If they have a static brace on their ankle, they're going to come down. Their ankle may not roll, but why do you think the ACL tears are crazy right now? It's got to rise somewhere. So that's one thing that we always talk about is as you're going through your normal range of motion, think how your body moves. And if your tape or your brace is not allowing it to move like it's supposed to, it's going to disrupt something. And so that's why Doak's company is disruptive, because he knows how he can come in and disrupt the industry with this new technology. So that's what we're super excited about is we feel like we've really, really nailed the way that our bodies move and protection without interruption of how we should move daily.
That makes a lot of sense, and I know at least working on the medical side of the house, if you look at the veterans that have gone to war, been injured, they come back home, if they have like a severe ankle injury, 5-10 years down the road, you almost guarantee that they're going to have a bad knee. 5-10 years down the road, they're going to have a bad hip, and it's all because once you lock joints into certain ranges of motion, the next joint up starts to behave in inappropriate ways, trying to find that dynamic movement. So could you explain how your brace, what led to the evolution of it, and then why it's so much different than the other braces out there?
Yeah, so one thing that I loved is I was able to see it from its very first conceptual vision to where it is now. And Doak Ostergaard is the brain behind it. Aryse is just very lucky to have a partnership with him. He's former athletic trainer at Nebraska. He was the head athletic trainer, very sought after. And he spent so many years in the training room just taping ankles. And he loved to watch how his athletes moved. And he thought there's got to be a way that we can protect them without taking away how their body is intended. And so about 4 years ago, 3.5 actually, but nearing 4, we formed a partnership with him. And we really took it from paper into manufacturing. And then we were able to take that first one down to the sidelines, and I stood down there with the athletes, and they gave us feedback right then and there. And it's evolved a lot over the last 3 years. But when we went to the market 1.5 years ago, we really felt like we nailed it and came up with everything that we needed. So honestly, it was just from an athletic trainer seeing his athletes day in and day out and really thinking, okay, I came up with the Soli shoulder for the shoulder instability. Why can't we do the same things for the ankle? And so it was taking that mindset for the shoulder and moving it down to the ankles, which we all know is the foundation, our feet are the foundation of our body. And so that's why Doak decided to bring the IFAST and exFAST to market through Aryse.
I can imagine that leading to huge time savings, especially since I've tried your product out in the field, it's relatively easy to, almost as easy as putting on a pair of shoes just to change them compared to just the repeated time it would take.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, because of the COVID era, athletic trainers are not allowed to be with their athletes as much, touch them, be in rooms with them. They have so many different restrictions. So now the athletes or even the parents can help them put them on and they can go. And it's saving a lot of time and also money on budgets. So the same thing is going to transcend into the military and our first responders also.
The only thing I'd add to that would be, and I know Shelley can speak to this too, is that there has been that entire 3 years invested in determining what are the best materials to mimic the body, what is the best shape to provide fit and function, and what exactly needs to be the form of the tension system to mimic the ligament. So I just wanted to add that we've kind of, I think, like I would agree with Shelley, we've really nailed it now. We're sort of our last area of really improvement right now is we're really focusing on the sleeve. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that every part of this device has really been really thoroughly thought through all the way down to the material used, the shape, the cut. So just to add that.
So when did you determine or realize that this could also be something that could really help the military community?
Yeah, I could start there. So like Shelley said, our initial goal was to serve the athlete, and started to engage with the Nebraska Department of Economic Development around grants. And we were actually sitting down with someone, and they said, you know what, I think you guys might have a product that could really serve the Department of Defense. And so to be honest, I don't think any of us can really take credit that we made the initial connection. But from that point on, we've spent about the last year to 18 months really trying to understand what is the connection between the athlete that's, like Shelley said, on the field or on the court, and the tactical athlete and the military service member. And so we've really invested a lot of time in trying to discern what are the differences and what are the similarities. But once we started to really get our heads around the issue of musculoskeletal injuries and training in operational environments, I think we all were on board and excited about providing a solution that could help.
Quite a bit of at least crosstalk between the military community and the law enforcement community, and I know personal friends that had their careers destroyed because of catastrophic ankle injuries in law enforcement. But I could definitely see, especially as you progress, get this kind of really squared away from the military, the law enforcement community, as they're chasing down criminals or jumping over fences. Just the extra safeguard for those folks as well would be quite impactful.
That's why Shelley's always so great. I think I'm not as good as her at it, but we refer to it as the government vertical, because we want to give each segment the amount of time and attention it needs to really understand and learn how we can be of support and service. But definitely first responders are a high priority for us. We want to really learn if their boot's different from military, what are the more common injuries, what are the unique attributes that our products need to really serve them well. So we're excited about that as a next step.
At least in terms of the IFAST, where have you had a chance to do the field testing and get feedback from this device so far?
Shelley, you want to start with DARI and athlete, and then I can go into military?
Yeah, so we have had an outside entity do really extensive studies on us, just the movement of the body primarily, which is called DARI. So we do have those DARI studies that we can allow people to look at and see really what the stats are that they came up with. It was really behind movement, and they compared us to a barefoot, a static braced hold, and a taped foot. And then they threw in the IFAST, and then on the athlete side, the XFAST. And so we do have those studies, which really turned out well in our favor. So that was great. And then as far as studies, it was more just being down there with coaches and athletic trainers that were willing to work with us. University of Missouri, Allison Mosel there, and Mitch Swain were awesome. And Rex Sharp is no longer the head of sports med, but he was integral in getting me into that campus. And they really helped us develop the products of hey, have you thought about this? And for female athletes with our shoulder, have you thought about making it longer so it doesn't rise up when the, females raise up their arms, and like all of these things that we necessarily hadn't thought about. So those two at the University of Missouri were huge with us. Florida, Paul, the head football athletic trainer, has really helped us with our IFAST there, but also given us great feedback with the IFAST. So we call those our early adopters because they see where we're heading and they love the direction and they're willing just to help out in any way that they can. And then also Murphy Grant, he was the head of sports med at University of Kansas. He is now an athletic director over the sports med department, health and fitness, and a bunch of things at Wake Forest. He has been a huge part of pushing our products forward, giving us feedback on their players with their coaches and their athletic trainers, especially with the volleyball team there. And so that's really primarily where I have spent my time, is just either one-on-one with athletes or high-level athletic trainers that are really paving the way for our product to do what it's intended to do the most. So that's on the athlete side.
And then on the military side, again, my heart has been to be as careful as possible in terms of really trying to understand where there is a need, and just to be really frank and blunt, not to just try to move a product in the military setting, but really trying to understand what are the units that are more susceptible to lower extremity or specifically ankle injuries, and where can we really offer the most support. So we've been able to narrow that down, and I would take feedback still from anyone who wants to offer it, but we've really been able to narrow our focus down to airborne and infantry units. We've also been advised to really continue to work to support special operations. So we're really listening and getting feedback in those three areas specifically. However, I recently learned the effects of soft sand on ankle injuries, so we're going to kind of pay attention to that. I've recently gotten some feedback on the effects of being on a Navy ship, which I honestly would not have thought of initially, and that's a very early some very early information I've gotten, but that there's quite a few lower extremity injuries just from being on steel or whatever material the flooring is there. But in terms of direct input, our focus has been to provide these products or provide the IFAST specifically to athletic trainers, strength and conditioning coaches, physical therapists, primarily associated with the H2F program. And they have been giving us some really, really, really good feedback. They've been getting it on a variety of military personnel, jumpers to just ground pounders. And we've been getting some really, really good feedback that supports what they're already doing, which is to prevent injury through nutrition, sleep, exercise, strength and conditioning, but that they really have been appreciative of this technology to reduce reoccurring ankle injuries. So we're excited to be able to help in that way.
Anyone want to comment about kind of any of the feedback you've been receiving?
We've gotten some really great feedback on the fit of the IFAST inside of a military boot. People are really grateful and excited that it's a low profile device that isn't bulky. There aren't a lot of hot spots to speak of, so that's been really, really encouraging. Honestly, our big first question was, will this fit in the military boot? Will these laces be an issue? That was our primary concern, and we honestly don't hear. I probably have around 60 pieces of individual feedback directly on the IFAST inside of a military boot, and so I'm not hearing too much about the laces. I think our goal with the laces and some feedback that we've gotten has been to create a faster application, which would be like a quick lace type system. So at some point we hope to be able to integrate, reduce the lacing and create a faster lacing system, which I know there's some good quick lace systems already out there available to us. Again, some feedback on the sleeve is for long-term wear, and I think Franklin, you can speak to this directly. it's just been reinforced again that it needs to be antimicrobial and wicking. It's different for the athlete, probably. They're wearing it for 2 or 3 hours at a time versus multiple days at a time, or just all day. So we definitely are working to improve the sleeve. But the best feedback I think we've gotten is that it provides protection, which is what the Dari said. It provides protection, but not excessive protection. So it does still allow for that performance inside of a military boot and doesn't restrict the ankle's motion, which would actually cause a dependence. I think that's the primary concern of most military medical personnel that I speak with. That is this. I don't like bracing because it's going to cause a dependence. It's going to weaken the ankle. It's going to go against what I'm actually trying to provide my soldier. And so we're really excited that we're not getting feedback that this creates any kind of a dependence, because it does allow for that normal range of motion.
I was going to say one of the first questions I had when I went to test your product was the laces, and I had this big fear, but I must say that the laces you picked out are so soft and so thin that, you know, I've never even felt them inside my boot when I tie them. So remarkable there. And even the understrap of the IFAST, I tend to notice it for about the first half mile of walking, but then I forget it's there. And I have 2 little toddler girls, so by the time I get home from marching, they, you know, obviously want to attack Dad when I walk through the door. So I get about enough time to take my boots off, but I've found that I may go several hours before I actually remember to take off the braces. So they're unlike any other device I've tried in terms of like just free movement or realizing whether you're wearing them or not.
I think one of our big questions too on that, and I know I want Shelly, give Shelly time to give her some of the feedback that she's gotten too, has been on durability. We've been guaranteeing the product for a season in the athletic vertical, but we aren't quite sure how that translates over into the military space. We really don't know how well this will hold up in a boot and for how long. So we're really excited, honestly, to get feedback from you, Franklin, to hear more about its durability.
Yeah, I was going to say that's an interesting test because I can reach behind me and you talk about that. So this is like a standard issue boot, and this is the one I was given in Iraq, and I wasn't even I'm not a ground pounder by any means, but I was walking just because of the size of our base. But that's 4 months worth of wear, and you can actually see that I cracked the sole of the boot. But that boot probably has like 600 miles of wear on it. Probably a premium boot, like the Rocky that I wear tend to last about 1,000 miles, but it would be very difficult to pick out a mark on the wall because, well, you have the extremes of, you know, the guys going out there and either they're marching 15 to 20 miles a day or, you know, operating in rough sands at 140 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going to be a lot different than walking around Nebraska. So that'd be very difficult to try to snap a chalk line to say, we'll guarantee it to this long.
I know you just gave me a couple numbers, which I've honestly never really thought to ask this. So if someone was a ground pounder, or you were just saying 600 to 1,000 miles, how long does typically a pair of boots last?
If I was going on a 12-month deployment, I would take at least 2 pairs of brand new boots, and I may have to replace another set. And that's typically what all soldiers would have in their kit when they began the deployment. And then there would be some chance of replacing a set of boots along the way for them, typically.
Got it.
12
Thank
months.
you.
So, Shelly, did you have any feedback on what feedback you've received?
The biggest thing that I hear the most positive feedback on is it's so lightweight, nobody knows it's there until they need it. And one of the most fun things is when an athlete feels their ankle go to give, it feels it engage, and they can literally feel it pop back in their ankle. And like when they come to the sideline, they're like, I felt it go and it stopped it. So we know that it's working. We know that it's activating. We know that it's doing its job. And so that's always great feedback. They always think they're going to feel it because the bottom part, and I don't know if Aaron can put it up a little bit so everyone can see it. But that bottom part, we do understand that a lot of people are think that that's going to hurt the arch of their foot. Believe it or not, the first rendition of this didn't have those slits in it at all, so there wasn't the give. And so that was primarily the first negative feedback that we got, was it did hurt the arch of their feet. But as soon as we added kind of those ridges in there, it's able to now move and it's much more pliable. And that has really taken that away. We don't hear that hardly at all anymore. So that's a very, very positive. And also the sleeve. We know that that's hard sometimes to get on. We tell them to, put your finger down there in that opening on the heel and pull it on up. Usually once they get it on there the first time, they don't have trouble the second or the third. But we have identified that we do need to make it the moisture wicking. And for obvious reasons, especially for a soldier who's going to have it on their foot for 12 hours. We just cannot, like you said, in the elements that y'all are in, I don't have an athlete that has those same elements. None of my athletes have been in Afghanistan marching. So it's very hard for me to speak into that, but we are listening. And so my feedback is primarily from the athletes, and that the most positive is they don't know it's there until they need it, which is good because like Aaron said, we don't want them to become dependent on this. We only want it to work at the end range of motion when it should work. So that's been the best, and probably just trying to figure out a quick lace, even for athletes. The quicker they can get it on, we understand that this is something that will help them and their athletic trainers. The quicker we can get a product on, we just know the more it's going to be used. Mm-hmm. We're in a really quick society, and if it takes time, most likely most people aren't going to do that. So that's really probably the one feedback that I get. If in the perfect world, if you could change this, you would have the perfect product out there.
That was one of my other initial thoughts when I went to test this product that I wanted to answer was it so difficult to change that a soldier would be less inclined to change their socks when they had the option to? Like, would they make themselves more prone to injury just because they're like, oh, this will take forever if I pull my boots off? Which, I had a chance to, I wasn't doing it rapidly either. So yesterday I went out, marched 40 miles in your IFAST systems. I had a chance to change my boots. So the plan is, and hopefully by the time I edit this video, I'll actually have a rough time it took me to change my socks and reapply the IFAST. Not going fast by any means, but for me, I would say it's actually quite reasonable how easy even the current model goes on and off. So with that, we'll jump to the next question. So I look forward. So I volunteered to give your product a test. So for the next 1,000 miles, which I have about 146 miles on the pair I have now, I'm going to put your product through a series of tests, and that could be covering rough terrain. I plan to do a water crossing, do some of the things that soldiers do, plus take these on long-range, ultra-long-range marches. So just yesterday I went out on a 40-mile march. I'm trying to copy the educational practices of a very old Army educational theorist named Captain Alden Partridge, and he was rumored to be able to march somewhere between 60 and 80 miles a day. So I'm hoping to build up my capacity to one day copy his performance, which is absolutely amazing. So along the way, I'll be wearing your product, giving you feedback, and I look forward to working with you to help you evolve this product to be something that could stand up to the roughest type of environments. But so right now, do you have any predictions on how long you think your product could last 1,000 miles?
I'm going to make Shelly go first.
Oh, God. Thank you. No, I can't wait. I cannot wait for feedback. I mean, we know that we've developed it for what our athletes need. It holds up, to the very big guys in the NFL who are on the linemen, and we know that it can protect them and it can hold up to that. But that's different movements. That's a game. It's a season. And so we're hopeful it will hold up, but this is really, really going to be beneficial for us, so that we truly can put our name and trust behind what it will actually do. So I am quite fascinated to know what your feedback will be. And I wish I could say I know exactly what it's going to do, but I don't, which is why field studies and people like you are so incredibly important to the development of our product. Because this is what we need to be able to somewhat even simulate what someone who's deployed would go through, right? And even then, can we quite? So I wish I could say I knew, but I am very excited to learn. And I know from this, we will be able to develop an even better product. That's one thing I can guarantee.
Yeah. Okay, so my prediction is that, okay, so I tend to be optimistic, just so you know that right up front. I would hope it would last as long as your boots would. So my hope is that these are going to last 6 months, whatever that is in miles, I don't know. So you're going to have to help me with the math on that. But I think I would be pleased if it made it whatever is equivalent to 3 months. So my hope is that it goes the full 6. But I think I would be pleased if it produced with an equivalent of the season. I think one of my big questions that I have is, obviously in a military boot, like Shelly said, or in a military environment, you're not doing as many, most likely. I don't want to, correct me if I'm wrong, but most likely you're not going to be doing a bunch of sudden lateral movements over and over like a football player would who's cutting. But you also have the product inside of a military boot probably experiencing some rubbing. So I'm just curious with all of that, how those two will kind of go up against each other. I'm going to go 6 months. I'm just going to go for the long 6 months.
So you bring up a good point. So the current boot that I'm wearing with is a Rocky Enhanced Jungle boot, and that boot is really the Spartan of all boots. It's made to be as light and as practical as possible. So the inside of that boot is really, really rough leather, and there's like absolutely no padding. And I got spoiled with the last pair of Rocky boots I tested because it was their tactical boots, which is about twice the weight, but it's like fully padded. It's incredibly nicely lined with smooth fabric. So I'm assuming that you'll see different wears on your product based on just the weight of the boot and then the climate that the soldier's trying to match their boot to. So the colder the climate, the kind of longer your product is likely to last.
Do you have any predictions, Franklin?
You know, I'd be happy if these last 500 miles with my current boots, just because I understand the interior of these boots are much, much rougher, and I think that there's obviously some slight modifications that you can make to safeguard some of the areas on the outside of the IFAST, and that could be even at the soldier level. There's probably a couple techniques that you could apply to your boots to make it more compatible to just a couple wear points and stuff.
Yeah, it'll be helpful to get some of the wear points because we haven't gotten them. We haven't gotten feedback on that yet. So
with that, that's kind of the end of my list of my formal questions. Did anyone have any other comments or anything they wanted to include?
I wanted just to say thank you for your willingness. It's inspiring to meet someone like you who's willing to dive in and try and test something, I guess, for the greater good, honestly, of us all. And so I'm just excited to partner with you and learn about, again, how we can best support the warfighter in reducing lower extremity and MSKI across the board. I don't know what we're going to do with you when it comes to like other things. What are we going to do with your shoulders? You can't really rough with your shoulders.
Yeah, please don't break me. Yeah, I don't know if there's I can't think of it. There's more than enough soldiers out there with bad shoulders that I'm sure would volunteer to try something new.
What were you saying, Jelly?
I said we do have a hammy. Not that we hope you're injured, but if you ever are, our hamstring is great for recovery. I always don't like it when I get those texts from athletic trainers on game day because I know somebody unfortunately went down, and it's usually a hammy or shoulder, I guess. But yeah, just like Aaron said, thank you. And we really appreciate you being willing to be one of the first ones to give us true feedback. 3 years from now, Erin will be talking about this, about how she had this great guy that was willing to ruck in our product, and that's how we got so much momentum. And she'll remember your feedback for a long time because it's what's going to take our product from here to there. And we appreciate early adopters who are willing to believe in something that maybe isn't complete yet, but you see how it can really help in the future. And our product and our company cannot get to where it needs to without people who are innovative thinkers like you. So truly, we are so thankful for that and look forward to the feedback, good and bad and the ugly. Give us grace because we know that we still need to improve it, but just know that we have a lot of people back in Lincoln, Nebraska working hard on it so that we can have it ready for military and first responders.
So I thank you both for your time, and I look forward to continuing testing, and I'll definitely keep you updated on how progress goes on the testing, and I look forward to the great things that will come out of your company. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
For the viewers out there, I invite you to subscribe to the Evolving Warfighter so I can keep you updated as I go ahead and test this set of IFAST. I'm going to be testing around the areas of comfort, durability, moisture control, and ease of use. I have about 150 miles on these so far, and I can say that they are far more comfortable than I first expected them to be. So far, they're holding up very well in terms of durability, and as far as ease of use, I can put these on in under 2 minutes in a non-stressed environment. I'm sure with practice and if under a little bit of stress, I could put them on even faster. Due to moisture control issues, I was given permission to remove the sleeve that was originally designed for athletic purposes, and I'm currently testing it without the sleeve. However, Aryse is currently testing and developing a sleeve specific for military applications. So I look forward to sharing whatever technology they come up with in future videos in this regard. Anyone out there looking to pick up a pair of IFAST for their own testing purposes, you can find them on the Aryse website. You can use the discount code Hard Winter Training to get a 10% discount. That is an affiliate discount, so anytime you buy with that discount code, you'll help support me and the testing of this product, which I deeply appreciate. Until next time, focus on your self-development so we can dominate the modern battlefield.